so many content creators and influencers basically rely on massive amounts of clickbait, and in many cases it can go too far. Once again, it's either a Monday or a Thursday. I'm going to guess it's probably a Thursday. We'll film me another video. It's a bit of a deep dive today on someone who has been requested a lot for quite a long time, and that is Heather Robertson. Based on what I've seen, she reminds me very much of Sydney Cummings and Caroline Girvan. Obviously, I know I've butchered her name, purely based on her content creation and partly based on her workout style. There are a lot of similarities between those three individuals, which isn't a bad thing considering I've expressed how I'm very much a fan of Sydney and I'm very much a fan of Caroline. Let's find out if I am a fan of Heather. Before we crack on with the video, you already know what's about to occur. Oh, I know it's going to be sweaty and I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I didn't know it wasn't going to fit properly. My head's too big. Oh, this is tight. Honestly, sometimes I wish I had like long hair. Funnily enough, when I was a skateboarder back in the day, in my teenage years, I did have quite long hair. Sass flick long enough, you know. I'm basically a walking, sitting fashion icon. Let's be honest. But now the headwear is on, it is time to crack on with the video. As I always do, we're going to start with her Instagram page. This very much falls within a similar realm to Caroline and Sydney, being home workouts of the priority, which I understand. I think it's actually very necessary, especially in the last 18 months we have. I think it's highlighted to a lot of people that home workouts may be better for them, which is fantastic. There's no one telling you that you need to go to the gym. At the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you, and you need to train in a manner that you can remain most consistent with, which covers multiple areas of enjoyment, progression, all sorts. So it seems like her Instagram is very much channeling her audience to the YouTube channel by showing like snippets of the workout, which I do understand, I do respect. I think it's a very wise move. The depth here is a bit questionable on the squat, but I know for jump squats, depth is very much like, do you hit parallel? Do you not go below parallel? Do you go above parallel? It very much depends, so I'm not as stressed about it. Whereas if it were a barbell squat, I would be very much like, oh, I think you should try and hit depth if you can. And if you can't, why can't you? Yeah, decent movement, I respect it. There are so many names for it. Some people call it a squat variation, some people call it a sumo deadlift variation, based on the angle of the torso and where the weight is, all sorts. But you know, it's a good movement nonetheless. The movement section is actually pretty solid. I'll back it. You've got some back work in there, you've got some tricep work in there, being skull crusher, to do like a skull crusher. You've got all sorts. You've got some more explosive movements. It covers a lot of things, which I do respect, I do appreciate. Oh, I like this. She's incorporating bits of yoga into her workouts, because not only is she an individual or trainer or content creator who focuses on the workout side of things, she also focuses on the, I would say, the recovery side of things. It's nice to see somebody focus on doing multiple things rather than just hit workouts, hit workouts, hit workouts, throwing off for your active recovery days. Let's do some yoga. I appreciate that, I respect it. But now we're going to go on to her primary platform, which is YouTube. She has a lot of subs, over 1.6 million actually, which is unbelievable. And she is indeed qualified as a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. I like that. You know, we love to see a qualification on the channel, as a lot of influencers and content creators these days are pushing out information and workouts and building a brand of such things without actually being qualified to do so. So we're looking at a chest and back superset strength workout. The reason why I'm curious is because these home workouts do often neglect the posterior chain, and the back obviously does fall into that category of posterior chain. So I'm very curious to see how she approaches her back training. Yeah, I like this. She's going through a warm up with you. I appreciate that. Don't neglect warming up. If you do, you may end up hurting yourself, and that's not a good time for anyone. So a chest press, so it's basically a floor press, because obviously home workout, you probably don't have access to a bench, therefore she's doing it on the floor. A lot of people, powerlifting, wherever it may be, floor press is actually quite a decent accessory movement, usually with a barbell, although a dumbbell is still good. I respect that, I appreciate that. She's not bouncing off the floor, she's letting it rest, and she's going from a dead stop to initiating the concentric portion of the movement, the contraction, which I do appreciate. A lot of people maybe bounce their elbows, which is actually not very nice. It does hurt the elbow. The elbows are maybe a bit flared. With any kind of horizontal pressing motion, I do like to tuck my elbows in a little bit. Barbell or dumbbell, if you're benching with flared elbows, I can only get to here. With a floor press, you only actually need to go that low. But if I tuck the elbows in slightly, and what I like to do is essentially try and mimic, as if you have a barbell, bending the bar, so pinkies down, which then tucks the elbows in slightly. I can now go much lower without any complication, which also means I can go to this desired range of motion a bit easier. So you go from essentially flaring like so to just a little bit down, just a slight tuck. She's supersetting that with the dumbbell bent over row. She calls it a narrow row. I like it. Ultimately, if you do keep the elbows a bit more tucked in, i.e. closer to the body, it does usually place greater emphasis on the lats. Another thing I would say on this is don't neglect to brace your core, because when you are in a position where your back could be potentially compromised, crucial to ensure your core is being braced effectively. If you look closely, it almost looks as if the elbows are collapsing in a bit. The wrists and the elbows aren't necessarily in one line. You want them pretty aligned, I would say. Oh, here's my puppy. He's going to make a brief appearance because he wants to play. I know he doesn't want to be here right now. Oh, I bet you like this hat, don't you? Very nice. This is my little puppy boy. Always an abs and booty finisher workout. You know that's a bit of me. All I do is complain about people doing kickbacks usually, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But yeah, a lot of these movements are contraction based and they don't have a huge range of motion, which again, I understand you're at home, you're a bit limited to what you can do. I would consider maybe swap it for things like a split squat or like a static lunge or something like that, rather than maybe like a leg kick. Mix and match, throw a multi-joint movement in there sort of thing. We're coming back to the YouTube. There's one thing I want to check first, and you'll see why. The link tree. We're going to look at the supplements first and see what supplements she's actually recommending people take or purchase. Fish oil, cod liver oil, yeah, I respect that, I think it's decent. Apple cider vinegar, something I've not really looked into massively, but I understand that a lot of people have spoken highly of it, so I'm curious. I'll probably do some reading on that. A D3, I think that can be quite beneficial. Personally, as I've said before, I'm not really a massive fan of BCAAs, because if you are eating whole foods and decent protein sources, you probably don't actually need them, to be honest. I think you're probably getting your necessary amino acids through food. A little roofie, do you want to have a look at supplements? Yep, he agrees. Probably wouldn't spend money on BCAAs. If they were given to you for free, go for it, but you probably wouldn't spend money on them personally. Very quickly, I must interrupt you for just 23 seconds. If you haven't already, please do consider liking the video. 350 likes is the goal today, so let's try and smash that, and I can produce more videos like that because it shows me that you like these types of videos. In addition to that, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel by clicking the red button down below and the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every video. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the video, drop it down below for comment section of the week and I shall do so. That was bloody speedy, I would say. I shan't interrupt you any further and we shall crack on with the rest of the video. It seems like a big thing from what I've seen is the new 7-day glow up challenge. I've gone through some of our other stuff, like looked at the videos for the 12-week program and stuff like that, as well as the lockdown lean one, which I don't think is probably as popular at the moment due to things opening up a bit. I think the focus today is going to be more on the 7-day glow up challenge. It is nice to see that Heather does provide quite a lot of options. That 2 weeks, 7 days, 6 weeks, 7 days, 12 weeks, whatever it may be. I like that. The 7-day glow up challenge, this is a guide, so you kind of go through a disclaimer. Quite a lot of her nutrition guidance does seem to be pretty decent, especially you would expect such a thing from someone who's qualified. Things like this: food is fuel and it's important to consume enough calories each day to have the energy to power through your workouts and properly recover. That's a good message. That's a message a lot of people need to hear, because a lot of people do fall into the trap of just not consuming food. They'll exercise. They won't eat to fuel their body, which can be quite a hindrance for them. I like this. I like the recommended food. So she's talking about this is what's good for protein, carbs, fats, vegetables. I think that's a really good addition. It's simple, but it's nice. Foods to avoid is a different one because this very much depends on like dietary requirements and just the individual intolerances, whatever it may be. I personally don't like labeling foods as good or bad. Food is food, and many foods have a purpose, be that even just a bit of enjoyment, like a treat. And I think you should allow yourself some enjoyment and some treats, because as I said before, the best diet for you is the one you can remain most consistent with. A lot of people struggle and fall off the wagon when it comes to dieting because they restrict themselves too much and limit the foods they can actually enjoy. If you want to drink, moderation. Alcohol does have calories. Artificial sweeteners, I'm not fully behind it. I know Lane Norton actually just posted something about this saying no they won't. Trans fats is something I would actually back. I do avoid eating trans fats. There's a lot of research out there suggesting that trans fats aren't very good for you, actually quite bad for you. Granted, it is only a 7-day challenge, so she's probably expecting you to like just cut these out for 7 days and see what happens. I think is a fair shout. Like, you know, if it only is 7 days, you know, take the brunt of it for 7 days, see how you feel afterwards. But long term, I'd always preach moderation. Meal ideas, I like this. This is decent. Doesn't give the macros and stuff, but a lot of people don't really care about that, which is fine. Breathwork, journaling, meditation, nature. Yeah, good stuff. I like this. It kind of goes into an element of mental health and psychological well-being, which I do appreciate. Gives you the workout schedule, which is great, and we're going to have a look at a couple of them now. Full body HIIT workout on the glow up challenge. Let's have a gander, shall we? This is what she's calling a squat, row, and press. So it's basically a squat to an upper row, then a squat to a shoulder press. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of combination movements in a lot of cases, but that's mainly like gym work if you're trying to optimize how much muscle you're building. Throw in a few more fast-paced movements as well, which is decent. So we've got a burpee and press here, which is interesting because I know a lot of people love burpees. Again, regarding like caloric expenditure, I know burpees are good for burning calories provided they're done properly. I'm kind of in two minds of them. I think it's very situational. Ultimately, they're just a hard movement that's quite easy to include in workouts like this. Would I suggest everyone do them? No, but yeah, they are very hard movements and you can do them if you so wish. Go on then, we'll look at one more, which is the legs and booty AMRAP workout, which is obviously as many reps as possible, AMRAP. So we've got goblet squats, reverse lunges, deadlifts, jump squats. Oh, all actually pretty decent movements. So I respect it. I think that's pretty solid. The depth is it's kind of hit or miss. I'm not really sure about this depth. It does look like she might be creeping in a bit too high. Reverse lunge, another great movement. I love that. That's good stuff. An RDL, she's calling it a deadlift, but it's actually more of a Romanian deadlift. Yeah, great posterior chain movement. Good back positioning. Head positioning is pretty solid as well. It does seem like the core bracing is a bit off, as you can see when she does go down. The back position, although it starts really well, does just lose a bit of tightness there. Just at the very bottom, she's losing a bit of tightness, and that could be due to the lack of sufficient core bracing. But remember, with an AMRAP, you don't have to constantly go. It's as many reps as you can do. So you do what you can. If you need to take a second to rest, take a second to rest. Cross deadlift is an interesting one because, yeah, obviously you're going to bring the hamstrings, the posterior chain into it. I personally don't like that kind of rotation because when the back is in a potentially compromised position and you can see there's a little bit of rounding there, it's probably not a movement I would recommend beginners, or a lot of people do actually, because I think there is potentially a greater risk of injury associated with that movement, depending on how you do it, obviously. Personally, I would alter a few movements. I would consider chucking in like a split squat instead of a lunge and drive or something like that. But I'm very simple and basic when it comes to my training. I like squat variations, I like lunge variations, I like stiff leg and deadlift variations, I like hip thrust variations. For these types of workouts and the audience that Heather is likely targeting, I think this is pretty decent and I'm quite impressed. I know there are a lot of home workouts out there that I'm really haven't been impressed by, and a lot of content creators who are producing these workouts who I am quite disappointed with. Based on what I've seen, remember I have not seen everything, but I've seen a fair amount. Heather is producing some pretty decent stuff for her audience, and I respect that, I appreciate that. So many content creators and influencers basically rely on mass amounts of clickbait, and in many cases it can go too far. It's really nice to see that Heather isn't doing that. But that's it. That's the video. Those are my thoughts on Heather. I'd love to know if you share the same thoughts or if you have a different opinion. I'm very curious. Pretty good stuff what I'm seeing. It's pretty impressive. I respect this. I appreciate this. So comment question of the week. Here we go. My question as a shift worker: how should you balance work/general life fatigue with training? Is pushing through and getting it done after a long shift actually productive, or can non-muscular tiredness affect recovery and adaptation as well? That very much depends on the person and their goals. If, for example, you're competing or something like that, I would say really try and push through the workouts if you can. Do what you can building up to that competition so you can rest afterwards. But if you're just training for enjoyment and to achieve your personal goals, be that weight loss, muscle gain, whatever it may be, if you know that you're going to go into the gym and you're going to have a bad workout, you're going to have to sacrifice sleep to do it, then that fatigue is going to carry over day after day after day. Just sack it off. Have the rest day. Go home, recover, eat, feel good, do what you can, pick up that workout tomorrow. A missed workout here and there is not going to prevent you from achieving your goals. And there's no deadline. You've got to go at your own pace. Not only are you looking at risking excessive physical fatigue, but you also look at emotional and mental fatigue as well. Or flip around, if you know you're limited for time and you say, you know, I probably could squeeze in a workout, but I'll only have half an hour, alter your program accordingly. And the program template I'm due to release at the end of this month will cover how you can essentially go about doing that. Do what's best for you, do what makes you happy, and have no guilt in doing so. As I said earlier in the video, if you do like these types of videos and do want to see more of them, please let me know by dropping a like on the video, and the goal today is 350 likes, so if we could hit that, it'd be bloody stupendous. On top of that, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel and maybe clicking the bell next to the red button down below so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, comment question of the week, drop it down below in the comment section and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating my waffle, thank you for tolerating my pets, I'm sure you more than tolerated them, and thank you for tolerating the video.